Seltzer Kings
podcasts.
I don't know you, do I?
I'm Buffy. I'm new.
Xander is me. Hi.
Oh, thanks.
Well, maybe I'll see you around. Maybe at school, since we both go there.
Great. It was nice to meet you.
We both go to school. Very suave. Very not pathetic. Oh, hey. Hey, you forgot your steak.
Everybody, and welcome to the very first episode of Boys Watching Buffy. We are your hosts. I am Joe Welke.
I am Vance.
And for those of you who are unfamiliar with us, we host podcasts where we talk about shows that we've never seen before that are, I guess, in the zeitgeist. People have a lot of opinions about, people are really enamored with. And so our last podcast, we watched and reviewed every single episode of HBO's Girls, the Lena Dunham show. And we took a little hiatus. We needed to figure out what we're going to do next. We talked about which series we should do. And lo and behold, here we are. We've landed on Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah, just it checked all the boxes of a show that we wanted. You know, something that was popular enough, but isn't like overly talked about. Has a lot of characters, a lot of actors that are like well known, and we're gonna have a lot of people that you're like, oh, that person's in this. Like even right now, this first episode, I'm like, oh, that guy was in Ted Lasso. Like, and also another writer, director, and Joss Whedon, who also has come under fire for a lot of
controversial
stuff. So yeah, it just fit the whole girls mold that we're looking for to follow up.
Indeed. Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through and watch every single episode of this series, which is a much larger task than Girls. When we started Boys Watching Girls, our original podcast, there's only, I think, 65 episodes of that. 64 we did a couple we did a couple bonus episodes. This is a much bigger task at hand. This 144 episodes, and we plan on doing them all.
Yeah. We completed the last one, and we're going to try to complete this one. That's our promise. We'll try to complete this one.
Vance, we have to live for 144 weeks now.
we have just started a 2-year endeavor.
We can't die. We're not allowed to die.
We basically watch the episode and then just go into a hyperbaric chamber until it's done.
So, shall we get started on this first episode, Vance?
Yeah. What was I think we should say what our knowledge of Buffy has been.
Okay. The knowledge.
Yeah, you go ahead.
Oh, the knowledge that I have of Buffy is, I know that it really launched Sarah Michelle Gellar into superstardom. I know that it spawned a couple of spin-off series. Like, I know that David Boreanaz is a character named Angel. Mm-hmm. And I know of him. He voiced a character in a video game that I loved. He voiced Squall Lionheart in Kingdom Hearts, the video game. And I know that Joss Whedon was the main driving force behind this. But other than that, that's really all. I've never seen an episode of it. I think I may have seen one episode of Angel, but it was just randomly on, and I didn't know anything that was going on. But that's kind of where I'm at. I don't really know anything about this show.
Yeah, my history of Buffy is I did see the original movie, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, with Christy Swanson, I believe, which came out before the show, I want to say.
Okay.
And yeah, Sarah Michelle Gellar, the only thing I really know her from is Cruel Intentions, which I've only seen once.
Oh, it's such a great movie.
And her Scooby-Doo appearances and with Freddie Prinze Jr. And that's about it. So I'm really excited to see her stuff.
Yeah.
Allison Hannigan, I know from American Pie and
Right, yes,
Met Your Mother. And she's got a similar vibe here, but she's also like really good at it, which we can get into. And yeah, that's kind of, and Joss Whedon, obviously, he did Serenity, which was a movie which was based off of something else that was very popular, like sci-fi.
Firefly, I think.
Firefly, yeah, which I didn't watch. I didn't watch
Me
Firefly,
neither.
but I did like Serenity, the movie, and obviously he had the Avengers movie and many others. So
yeah, he's gotten really huge into the zeitgeist. And what's with me saying zeitgeist so many times at this point? It's only been twice. Joe, don't freak out. Don't freak out.
Hopefully we don't have to do a bonus Joss Whedon
controversy
episode. Like, I don't feel like doing that.
Yeah,
I think
we
his
did
is
that
more limited.
for Lena Dunham. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at. So if we don't know anything, if you're listening to this podcast and you're like, no, you idiots. Well, it's because this is our first time going through this. We don't know anything about the show. And we're just giving our initial rundown and reactions of what is going on in this show.
Yep.
Okay? We're two boys watching Buffy. All right? And here we go. Starting off with episode 1. It is titled Welcome to the Hellmouth. Directed by Charles Martin Smith, written by Joss Whedon. The original air date was March 10th, 1997, to an audience of 4.59 million viewers.
Yeah, that's the time when that number is just about right for the time. Yeah. It's so it'd be lower previous in like maybe the 80s and 70s, but yeah, 90s, that's a good number.
Yeah, this is a vastly different time in television.
Yeah.
As opposed to, well, this also is network television too. Like when we did Boys Watching Girls, a lot of the viewerships were like 0.7 million, 700,000 people watching it. But, it was a lot more rigmarole in order to get to watch Girls. But this was on the WB.
So this is on the WB before it became the CW.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, man. That's where we're at with Buffy.
All right.
So, episode 1, Welcome to the Hellmouth. So, I don't know if you got this, because I watched this on Amazon Prime.
Same.
Because it's free with the subscription.
The prescription. You
free with the prescription. Pills. The doctor prescribed Amazon Prime to me, and here we are. We have a podcast now. Did yours start with like an awful intro with like bad B-roll?
Yes, that was the first thing I wrote down. Was like that intro with that VO. It was like, there was a time where vampire slayers and monsters came out, and it was just like, what is this?
Yeah,
and I was like, is this the intro for the whole show? Like, is every episode gonna start like this?
It could be, man. And we're already enraging people listening.
I don't think it is, because before we hopped on, I checked IMDb and I noticed that there's an unaired pilot.
Okay.
And I feel like that might be something left over from that.
Yeah, because this looked like it was made by like a high school film club. Like this intro was so bad looking.
Yeah. And then it goes into the cold open, and then it goes into the intro of the show, which is also very dated in its time, that intro.
Yeah, I think we're going to find a lot of very dated things about this.
I can't wait to see how that intro changes over the seasons, if it in fact does.
Yeah, but I think that's part of the charm of this though, too. Like looking back at this and seeing like, oh man, this is very late 90s. I love it.
Did you get a lot of Clueless and Legally Blonde vibes from this?
Dude, yeah. I mean,
if you said no, that'd be great. Like, not at all. They never killed a vampire.
So anyway, the first actual scene that we really get in this show, aside from that awful intro, is kids breaking into a school to bone, basically. It seems like it's a guy busting into a school. Doesn't seem like a very good place to bust into and get your rocks off. But, also that the dude looked, so I know that this is like a thing in Hollywood, but a lot of everyone in this series is in high school. A lot of these people look like they're definitely like 35 years old.
Sandra looked so old. Yeah.
But anyway, we digress already. So they break into the high school to bone, and it's a guy and a girl, and they're sneaking around, and the guy's being kind of a creep, and so you're like, oh, this guy's definitely gonna kill this girl. He's being a vampire, and the girl's worried. She's like, do you hear something? I'm worried. Is there anybody around? And the guy's like, what are you scared of? Nothing's gonna happen. And then there's a moment where he goes and looks around a corner, and he's like, there's nobody here. She's like, are you sure? And he goes, yeah. And then she turns around, and she is the vampire. I'm hooked.
I'll say that was a good switcheroo there. Because I thought, because they kind of do a little cheat too, where there's like that little like shadow that goes past it. Because I never thought that he was a vampire. I thought that they were going to get attacked like the beginning of Jaws or something like that, Like,
okay.
I was like, oh, they broke in. He's like, no one's here, I'm sure. And he looks around. It's a giant high school. He basically turns his head, looks down one hallway, and says, I'm sure. He's like, what do I have to say to get the boning going?
Hey, I was going to say, that's such horny dude logic.
Yeah, no, it's not fine.
Yeah, everything's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
just like obviously someone there with them. He's like, don't worry about it. That's just a janitor.
And I love that they had to have this in the school just because they have the school set. There's no reason for this guy to break into the school at all.
No, yeah.
Especially from what we see later in the episode.
Yeah.
And but it was a nice twist for it to be her, because you didn't expect it, because she was playing the scared, I don't know, I shouldn't be here person. So yeah. Mm-hmm. A decent start.
Good misdirect. Yeah. Good. I was surprised. Very good.
Yeah.
Buffy.
I do have some questions on the logic of this later, but yeah. Okay.
Yeah. There's going to be a lot of questions. I guarantee it.
Very nitpicky question, but yeah.
Yeah. So then we get the intro song, and then we go to Buffy. This is our first intro to Buffy, and she is asleep, and she's having these visions while she's dreaming, and it looks like the B-roll from the beginning, and it's
it's the leftover footage.
And you see her, like, there's a cemetery, there's crosses, and then somebody slams a book that says vampire on a desk, and then she wakes up, and then it's kind of like, oh, it's the first day of high school.
Yeah, the mom's like, wake up, you don't want to be late. And she's like, no, wouldn't want that. And you're like, what? Like, why?
Yeah. So they're in the mom drops off Buffy to her new high school. We know that we get some hints that she's had some problems with her previous high schools. Her mom's worried that she's going to make friends, and whether or not she's going to make friends, and she's worried that, she's going to get kicked out again. Yeah. And so you're like, oh, Buffy's had some problems previously.
Yeah. Well, yeah, at first it's like you see Sarah Michelle Gellar playing Buffy, and she's like normal looking blonde, you would say attractive. Like, you're not going to be like, oh, this girl's going to have a hard time in high school. Like, she's not like this awkward nerd for the 90s or whatever. And she's like, hopefully you can make friends, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, what is happening? And then they're like, oh, don't get kicked out. And you're like, there we go. And it's like, okay, so there's some danger, but even though the title kind of gives away.
There's something else going on here, but
there's something else with this Buffy Vampire Slayer.
We know that she's been out slaying vampires.
Yeah.
So then she gets out of the car, and Xander is this guy skateboarding around. He's literally, everyone's in his way.
He's like 48.
Yeah. No. He's almost running into everyone at the school.
That is like a Simpsons-esque Bart Simpson, like skateboarding in Springfield. Like, he's just like skating down the crowded sidewalk saying, out of the way, out of the way. Stop. Just stop.
Yeah. Or, walk. It's not smart to be doing this, dude.
And no one's giving him shit for doing it either. I don't think he's like one of the cool kids either,
Yeah, I don't really know.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's a cool kid, but he doesn't seem to be.
No.
Especially when he gets the fucking auga eyes over Buffy. Like, he just is like, he sees Buffy and he like whips his head and he's like, oh my God, who is this new girl? And then he runs right into the railing.
Yeah.
A staircase railing. And then that's our intro to Xander, the horn dog who wants to bone Buffy, basically. And then we get an intro to Willow, who is Allison Hannigan.
Yeah.
And Willow seems to be kind of a nerd.
And if you've seen her in anything from the 90s and early 2000s, you can guess what character she's playing. Nerdy. Nerdy girl that the guys don't look at twice.
I don't get that, because she's a very good-looking lady.
I know. Like, she's like not someone that you're like, oh, gross.
Yeah. I mean, she's very cute.
I mean, she has zero confidence, but that's classic for this role. Other than that, like,
yeah. So he runs into her and he's like, "Hey, you got to do my math homework." And she's like, "Okay, what's in it for me?" And he goes, "I'll give you a nice shiny nickel."
In the 90s, nickel.
It wasn't, Vince. Don't try and fucking say that.
In the 90s, a nickel went a long way. For a high schooler?
Don't you fucking even try and do that to me.
A couple malts at the ice cream bar.
So then Buffy, basically, she goes into the high school and she gets accosted by the popular girl, the Regina George of this high school, it seems.
Yeah.
A woman named Cordelia Chase.
Played by Charisma Carpenter, which is a name I know, but I don't. And I know I've seen her in stuff, but I don't know a lot about her. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what she was in. It seems like she's in a lot of series that are very similar, because according to her IMDb page, she was in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. She was in Angel. She was in Charmed, which was another.
She survives this whole series.
And she's also in Veronica Mars.
Okay.
So she's...
Veronica Mars was another show we debated.
Yeah, that was another one we were thinking about doing, but landed on Buffy. Maybe the next one.
Yeah. Right in it, you can get Veronica Mars in 2 years.
Yeah. But yeah, so she's been around like this acting scene. Like, I feel like Charmed was a very similar series to this, at least. I think that one was about witches. And I think my sister watched that one. But that was also on the WB, one of those supernatural kind of shows. But anyway, Cordelia, she wants to test Buffy's coolness factor. And she hears that Buffy just moved from LA. So she's like, you're automatically pretty cool, because you just came from LA and we're in Sunnydale, California. And she's talking about like fashion she has. And also, if you're unfamiliar with this podcast, I'm a fashionista. There's a little segment called Joe's Fashion Corner, and I break down the fashion of the episodes. We're going to have quite a bit of that.
And you're super qualified to do so.
I'm very qualified. I'm very fashionable. More fashionable than Cordelia, but we'll get to that later. She's talking about, the fashion, how much she loves James Spader. And then she kind of, it's so funny to think of James Spader being a heartthrob.
No. Yeah.
Because my introduction to James Spader was from the show Boston Legal, or The Practice. Mm-hmm. And he was like a smarmy, wormy, like gross creep in those shows. Yeah. And like hearing people from back in the day being like, James Spader, I fucking love that guy so much.
Yeah, and then he's on then he's on The Office, and then what is that show, Blacklist?
Yeah, The Blacklist.
The Blacklist, and you're like, that was the heartthrob for like these girls in the 90s.
That was a sex symbol. Robert California.
Yeah.
Ultron.
Yeah.
But so then Cordelia
that's
basically...
why he's Ultron. Yeah, good call.
Yeah. Joss Whedon connection.
Yeah, just because he mentioned him in Buffy pilot, and he's like, I need you to be in Avengers Age of Ultron. Yeah.
Yeah. So then we see Cordelia bully Willow, and Buffy is kind of like, what? Oh, no, that's so mean. Yeah.
Yeah. pretty much.
Yeah. So Buffy goes to the library because she doesn't have any textbooks for some reason, and that's how she kind of meets Cordelia.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've been in high school, but I don't remember having to check out textbooks from the library.
No, that was never a thing.
Yeah.
You would just buy fucking textbooks.
Yeah. And more textbook buying was mostly in college. College was that big time where like, oh no, textbooks. What all this money trying to sell them back, buying them used. But yeah, I don't remember in high school a ton of textbook drama.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, so yeah, that's where Buffy goes to the library and she sees a newspaper article about 3 boys are missing, and Buffy's immediately kind of like, uh-oh, something's going on in this town.
Like, that is news that could happen in any... Like, she's moved him from LA.
Yeah.
That is news that would happen in any newspaper. It's not like this crazy thing.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's not like, oh no. I mean, it's news, but it's not like she jumps to it already. That like...
I guess for this small town, it'd be like
yeah,
really
this small
crazy
town would
news.
be, yeah.
But
I wanted to go back to when she first goes to the school. She meets with the principal or whatever.
Oh, right.
And
I forgot about this.
And apparently in the unaired pilot, it's Stephen Tobolowsky from Groundhog Day. The friend that keeps messing with Bill Murray's character. But yeah, he's not. Obviously, they recast in this. But he's like, oh, we don't care about what you did at your last school. And then he's like, oh, you burned down the gym.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, it was full of asbestos. Terrible save. Not even close.
Even if it was filled with asbestos, fire's not the remedy.
Yeah. And it's like, how does she just get a pass for burning down an entire gym?
How's she not in jail?
I was like, yeah. I was like, all right. Sure.
Yeah, that was a pretty funny scene. I completely forgot about it. Like the principal's trying to be like the cool guy, and he's like, I see that you've had some trouble, but like rips it up. He's like, that doesn't matter here. And then he looks at it more closely. He's like, oh, you did some pretty serious. You burned down the gym. And she's like, well, it was full of vampire. I mean, like she says every letter of vampire except for the E, basically.
Luckily, he's too busy taping that sheet of paper back together to hear it.
Awful save. But then he's just like, well, then don't worry about it. It's going to be fine.
Yeah. We should have had this meeting before classes started, but okay, cool. Before you pulled up to, like, she hasn't even, like, moved into the house yet. They still have the boxes, like.
Well, I mean, also, I was a new kid at a school, not a high school, but an elementary school, and I never got, like, called into the principal's office, like, hey, this is how it goes down here. Like, they don't give a shit.
No, especially this school that's huge.
Yeah, there's, like, a bajillion people there.
Yeah.
I don't know, but apparently everyone knows who Buffy is, including the librarian. Where Buffy goes, she sees the 3 kids missing. The librarian, Rupert Giles, he shows up and he's like, I know what you're here for. Pulls out the vampire book from her dream vance.
I'm happy you noticed that was in that montage, because I completely just, once I saw the montage started, I was like, okay, dream sequence. I'm not paying attention to anything that's being shown.
Yeah, it's the same book from her dream.
Yeah.
And Buffy's like, no, that's not what I'm looking for. What did you think that's what I'm looking for? And he's like, well, I thought that you were a vampire slayer. And then she like runs away.
Yeah. And this guy, the actor playing Giles, is the one from Ted Lasso. He's the ex-husband of the main
Anthony
lady.
Stewart Head.
Yeah.
And it was funny because in the scene right before she meets up with the librarian, they're talking about how hot James Spader is. And I was like, it's funny because I think that Rupert Giles looks like James Spader looks like now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But he's got a little more English. He's got that British charm to him.
Yeah.
And no one finds it weird that a librarian that like used to do curating at museums and stuff is now the librarian at a school in a small town in California.
Yeah. I wonder what his thing that the principal ripped up said.
Yeah. All of the students he talked to are murdered. No problem.
Oh, Jesus. So anyway, now they're on like a break scene, like it's lunchtime or something, and Buffy meets up with Willow and a new guy named Jesse, who we hadn't seen before, but he's apparently a part of the crew, and Xander shows up, and Xander, previously, he bumped into Buffy in the hallway, and like a bunch of her stuff went flying onto the ground, and she left her wooden stake. And he was like, I gotta return this wooden stake to this girl.
Like, what a meet cute. She just bumps into a bunch of people. Like, she just like clumsily bumps into people outside the principal's office. Then he runs in. He's like, oh, I want to date you. Like, I want you to be mine. He says something super weird. He mumbles over himself. And then she leaves and he picks up the fakest, lightest styrofoam steak you could ever see. Like, it's obviously not made out of wood. Like,
you know what?
He's holding it with like his thumb and index finger. It's like so light.
It's funny because I know that this show gets a lot more popular, and with that, I feel like a bigger budget's going to happen.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Some of these things are going to get better. I feel like
I can't wait to see the evolution of the show, and it's going to get so much weirder. Yeah,
I appreciate the practical effects. I appreciate like some of the charm of it. Like, it's not bad. It looks pretty good for, you know, a teen drama WB series. Yeah. But I can't wait till that budget like kicks up and we don't have to have this steak look so stupid.
I'm like, were they not allowed to hold a piece of wood? Was it too heavy? Like, why is it like, it looks like a fake giant number 2 pencil. And this show, if anyone ever listened to other podcasts, this show has one thing that you absolutely hate, which is people talking to themselves after. Yeah. And not just one character does it. It's not a character trait that just like, oh, Xander's a person that talked to himself. They all have those scenes where a scene ends, like the interaction ends, the person walks off, and then they monologue to themselves about how bad the interaction went.
Yeah. Yeah. Way to go, Xander. You really screwed it up this time.
And like, people are walking past him while he's saying this. Like, he's saying it full volume. Like, no one's like, Xander, chill the fuck out, man. Like,
it's like, you'll get to see her again. You have to return her wooden stake.
Yeah. Which is totally normal. She doesn't want to fight vampires, but she will bring the wooden stake to school.
I also just love the vernacular of the people in this. Like, it's such weird phrases. Like, Buffy says, like, yeah, I guess it wasn't too keen on this. And she said, when she has to leave, she's like, I got a book. I was like, what?
Oh, yeah, no, that's like really hip 90s. I think it's more early 90s than where it is. But, yeah.
It's very quippy, but, you know, Joss Whedon, super quippy dialogue, but then like just the vernacular. I forgot how weird we talked back in the day.
Well, and you know, 20 years from now, people will say how weird everything is now too.
Yeah, they'll be like, why is this guy saying zeitgeist so much? So anyway, Xander returns the steak to her, and she's like, oh, this is more popular in Los Angeles. We don't use pepper spray. We use wooden stakes. It's a lot more.
She is a terrible person. She cannot come up with a cover story at all.
Well, also Xander, who was fumbling all over himself like 2 seconds ago, now is perfectly articulate and like he doesn't have any of that like weird stuttering. Yeah. But Jesse's like, Xander, you're stuttering all over yourself. Like, you should have seen him in the last scene he was in, bro. He was a fucking...
Well, Jesse, the first time we see him, he's like, new girl, New girl. New girl. New girl. What do you know about her? New girl. It's like, God, that place is... You like the girl that is popular that's just there. Like, the new girl shit... Like, that's like...
Yeah.
I don't even know...
Did you see the new girl? What do you know about her? She's the new girl.
Like, it's a small town, but the biggest high school in the world.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring up, like, before they all come over, it's because she's going over to talk to Willow. Because she's like, hey, Willow, you're the person I need to talk to if I want to get good grades in school. Which is, it's one of those running themes throughout this that it's kind of like that Spider-Man thing where Spider-Man, like, wants to still be a kid and he hates having to be a superhero, and it's all that balance. Yeah. Which works, but it seems like Buffy's logic is like, yeah, I don't care if there's vampires in the school.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to go to class. I'm like, everyone's going to die.
I do love that, like, Giles is like, no, there's vampires and something bad is going to happen in this town. And she's like, yeah, it's going to be the death of my social life.
Yeah, like, I get it, but man, you know what's going to really hurt your social life is when everything's on lockdown. Every kid has gone missing.
When everybody is dead in the town, you're going to have you and your mom to hang out with.
Oh, man, her mom.
But I also skipped over a scene where we saw a girl in the gym locker room, and there was a dead body stuffed inside her locker.
Oh, yeah, that happens before this,
Yeah, because then Cordelia comes and she's like, hey, looks like we won't be having gym class together because somebody straight up found a dead body. And then Buffy, in all of her tact, in all of her conspicuousness, goes, were there bite marks? How did he die? And Cordelia is very rightfully like, I don't fucking know.
Morbid much? Is that something she says?
Yeah. Yeah, she said the gym is canceled due to, and I quote, an extreme dead guy.
There's a couple of things I want to unpack here. There is no reaction by the kids that there's a dead person. That not like they don't know if he's a student or not. They're just like, there's a dead guy in the gym. Yeah. They did not close the school. They did not stop classes. There's no gym class, obviously, anymore. Mm-hmm. But other than that, it's fine. Like,
yeah, it's all good.
I mean, I finished watching like Twin Peaks recently. Not to go on a tangent about that. That's a whole nother can of worms. But the girl dies and they close school. She didn't die at the school. She just died and they closed school. Like, this is a person in a locker. Like, they don't even know if the murder's still on campus. Like, it's insane.
And they don't even know if he has bite marks on his neck, Vance.
The most important thing. And this, one of my favorite jokes in the movie is the girls walk into the locker before they find the body. And the body's the guy from the opening scene. But before they find the body, this one girl's like, oh, have you heard about the new girl? She's kind of weird. She has a weird name. What kind of name is Buffy? And the other girl's like, I know, right? Aphrodisia? Because that's the girl's name.
Okay.
And it's just really funny to have someone like that.
So many of these people, everyone in this show so far has a weird name.
Yeah.
Like Cordelia.
You got Xander, Cordelia, Willow.
I mean, Jesse is like the most normal name. Mm-hmm. And we don't know if he's going to be in the show much longer based on what happens to him later on in the episode. So after Buffy finds out about this extreme dead guy in the locker, she breaks into the locker room, which I didn't know that Buffy was like super strong, super powerful like that. Mm-hmm. But I guess this is our intro to her amazing strength, powers, and everything.
Yeah, because they definitely go up on that later too.
Oh yeah,
even though they do. She has a terrible fighting stance.
Yeah,
but yeah. Okay, yeah, go on, because there's so much here.
Yeah, so she busts through, she breaks the door, goes into the locker room, checks out the body, and then she finds that there are definitely vampire wounds on the neck. And then she goes to the library to talk to Giles. Is it Giles or Giles?
I'm going to say Giles, but we'll maybe have to correct that next episode.
Yeah, we'll probably get more info about that.
Wait, I just want to say, she breaks into the gym rips the door down, right? So that looks weird. That looks super suspicious if you come back there. Yeah. Also, the guy's body is under a sheet and no one's there.
Yeah.
There's no coroner, no police, no
one investigating.
Like, it's just someone put a sheet over it and just left it. Like, what is that?
Vance. It's a small town.
Hey, a dead body just fell on a girl. Just put a sheet over it.
Vance, it's different here. It's a one Starbucks town, according to Xander.
It is a one Starbucks town.
I loved that line so much. I fucking loved it.
Yeah.
So then she goes to talk to
then she goes to Giles.
Giles, who informs her he's a watcher, which I guess is some part of the lore. I guess somebody that like watches over the town and informs Buffy. I guess like a trainer or informant to tell her like what's going on in the town and where the vampire activity is. But he's not actually a Slayer because Buffy is the Slayer, and there's only one in every generation or something.
Which is insane because it's a huge world.
That's what I was thinking. I was like wondering if there's any Slayers in other towns.
I was thinking like there's going to be more Slayers that show up throughout the 140 plus episodes.
Yeah,
it's no way.
Obviously.
It's no way.
Obviously. Like there's got to be like the New York Slayer.
Yeah, you got to run it.
Tokyo Slayer.
Yeah, you're gonna run out of ideas after like 50 episodes. Like, all right, we got to throw something in this.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
So Buffy's pissed that he's calling her a Slayer, and she's like, I'm retired, and I got kicked out of my last school because I was slaying.
And she's saying it in a 90s way, not in a 2000 slang way.
Yeah. And that's what fucked up her social life. And as she's leaving the library, we see Xander emerge from around the corner. He's like, wait, what?
That was my favorite moment of the episode, really, though. Because there's this long exposition explaining everything. And they set it up that he would go to the library. You would think the librarian would know that he's in there because he's the only one in, but he just pops around the corner and goes, what? And it's, at first I was like, I don't know if I like this character, but that line like that bought him like 10 episodes for me. He gets a 10 episode leeway just for that line delivery.
So after we see that, we see underneath the school, it seems like there's an underground vampire lair.
These scenes are amazing.
Yeah, there's stained glass windows, there's candles everywhere, and then there's like a bunch of vampires walking around being like, oh, it's almost time, master, and we have to get our preparations ready. It's very vague.
Yeah.
And then, then we get Buffy going to the club.
Well, she goes to, we do have the scene where she, I guess, what's her name? Cordelia tells her, hey, there's a party in a club in a bad part of town, which is 2 blocks from the good part of town, because it's a small town.
It's a one Starbucks town.
Yeah, it's one Starbucks town. And then before she goes out, she's with her mom, and the mom's like, hey, I'm going to start my gallery. I guess she's an artist. And I'm happy that we're here, and blah, blah. And she tells her mom she's going out to a club. And the mom's like, are there going to be boys there? And she's like, no, it's like a nun club or something. Yeah. And she's looking at clothes and being like, ooh, too slutty, too trashy.
She's talking to herself in the mirror.
Yeah.
She holds up one dress to herself. She's like, hi, I'm a huge slut. And she holds up another one. And she's like, would you like to borrow some book or something?
Yeah.
And I was like, why do you have either of those if you're never going to wear them? You know the connotation of both of those.
You've been at school one day. You don't have a party weekend outfit ready.
Yeah, right? Get it together, Buffy Summers.
And it looked like she was more dressed up for school than she was when she went out.
Yes. It looked like she was wearing her dad's shirt when she went to the club.
Yeah, if she had a chain on, like a gold chain, she'd look like one of those like crazy coked up club kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude. What a terrible Joe's Fashion Corner for a hot second. What a terrible going out outfit. She's got like a beater on. She's got a wife beater on and like a button down like light blue Oxford that you'd see like dudes from the Jersey Shore wearing. and she's got it unbuttoned down to her belly button. And then like these like weird, like the flares I can forgive because it was the 90s. I get it. That was a sound. But I never saw anyone dressed with that top combination that wasn't like, that was such a horrible look.
Somehow she was I'll give her this. Somehow she was pulling it off a little bit for like, it kind of like, you can kind of like forgive it, but it does seem less appealing than the skirt top situation she wore to school that day.
Right, that's what I was saying. Like it was basically the same outfit she wore to school, except that she put on pants instead of a skirt.
Yeah,
like at school she had the same button-down tank top thing underneath going on too.
Yeah, I wasn't so locked in. At first it was just like, oh, her in school, but when she wears the pants and I don't know, just maybe she just wanted to be more prepared for kicking. I guess. I have no idea.
Well, it's a good thing that she was prepared for kicking.
Wait, I just want to say, though, that the mom they moved to a new town. The mom finds out her daughter, who is in trouble all the time, is about to go out to a nightclub after the first day of school. Now, my thought was
part of town.
My thought was this. And she's going by herself, too. Like, she's not driving or anything. My thought was this. It was her first day of school on a Friday. Like... Really?
Yeah.
Like, everyone is at this place at this club that night. Is this a Monday night?
Yeah, Monday nights high schoolers drink free.
Yeah. Like, I mean, we'll get to it, but like no carding, just pay the doorman a couple bucks and it's a full bar.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a small town. It's
small town. Yeah.
Vance, the police can't be at the club because now they finally got around to investigating the dead body.
Yes, that one officer.
The one sheriff in this one Starbuck town is checking out the dead body that was in the school. Finally got around to it.
But on her way to the club.
On her way to her club, there's a mysterious shadow following her, and Buffy's looking over her shoulder. She's suspicious. She goes into a dark alley, which... Don't recommend.
Don't recommend even if vampires aren't in the town.
Yeah, not a smart move.
The girl's like, hey, it's in a bad part of town. Oh, I'm just going to walk there then.
Yeah, I'm going to walk there and I'm going to go to possibly the scariest part of the scary part of town. Yeah. A dark alley. And so we see this mysterious stranger following her, who I immediately recognized as David Boreanaz, who is Angel. Mm-hmm. Which is something that I am privy to. I do know Buffy heads. I am privy to Angel. I know that that's a thing.
Yep.
And Fashion Corner again, real quick. David Boreanaz is wearing a like disco collar button-down shirt over a velvety black blazer. Incredible fashion choice. I love it, dude.
It's a great look, and he has this like, I haven't seen a ton of stuff in him. I think the most clips I've seen is him in like that show Bones or whatever.
Oh yeah, he's in Bones.
Oh yeah, he's been on TV forever.
And now he's in a show called SEAL Team 6 or something now. Too.
Oh yeah,
something about Navy SEALs or something.
If that's still on.
Good for him, dude.
I mean, he's put in some work on TV.
Yeah.
But, I mean, and you see him and you're like, you know what? He has a little more charm than the Xander dude in this scene here.
Well, I have to tell you, Wikipedia describes him as a mysterious, handsome stranger.
Wikipedia always nailing it with the descriptions.
So now he's looking around this dark alley looking to see where Buffy is. And Buffy is set like probably 12 feet in the air doing a handstand on a pole like a insane gymnast. And she's doing this handstand for a while.
Yeah.
It was incredibly impressive. And so as Angel walks past, she swings down to kick him in the back. But if you actually look at the distance between where she would have swung down, there's no way he would have been able to reach her.
Yeah.
She would have never been able to reach him.
I feel like that thing was like 25 feet in the air, whatever.
It was so high. And like he was already so far past her by the time she started swinging that I was like, there's no way she'd be able to kick
I
it.
gotta say, I love the production design of this set alley. Like, as soon as she walked down that alley, you're like, oh, action scene's about to happen. You know, I really thought it was going to be more of a fight scene than what it turned out to be, just because of,
Yeah, she basically kicks him and he's like, wow, you're really strong. I thought you were going to be taller. Anyway, there's a harvest happening. And she's like, what? Who are you? Are you in? And he's like, I'm a friend. And she's like, okay. And then he gives her some kind of silver cross pendant. He's like, you need this to be safe. Be worried. There's a Hellmouth in this town. The gates of hell are here. And now it's the harvest. Yeah. And then he just kind of walks away.
It had that lame line of like, I'm a friend. And she's like, I don't need any friends. And then he's like, I didn't say I was your friend.
Yeah.
And I was just like, what?
Well, then whose friend are you?
Yeah. And it kind of made sense when like she runs into Giles later and he's like, I ran into your friend. So it kind of plays up there. But when you're watching the scene, you're like, wait, wasn't the mom just talking about Buffy needing friends? Like, yeah. I was just like, what is this?
Well, also, the guy that's stalking you into a dark alley is not probably the best top pick for becoming your best friend, you know?
Hey, he gave her a present. He gave her some information. Like
he gave her some jewelry.
Yeah.
So yeah, she goes to the bronze finally, and she sees Willow, and Willow's basically like, nobody's ever talking to me. I don't have a lot of luck with the dudes because whenever a guy talks to me, I can't talk and I'm always nervous. And then Buffy's basically like, you just gotta fucking seize the day. And Willow immediately takes it to heart. She's like, you're right.
I did like Buffy's view of like, you gotta seize the day because you might die tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because she's so bleak. And I wish Buffy had more of that bleakness in her character instead of the like she's not really upbeat, but she doesn't have like, if she was just saying morbid stuff all the time because she's seen and killed so many, like she knows this exists in the world. So you would think she'd be a little jaded. And she doesn't really have a lot of that.
Yeah, that warning is very like blunt. She's like, you could die. Life is short, you could die tomorrow.
Yeah, it's like,
and she like keeps repeating it. Yeah. She's like, no, seriously, you could die.
Yeah. Were you surprised that Willow was at this place?
Yeah, I mean, it didn't make any sense for her to be there.
And also, she was supposed to study with that dude for a nickel tonight.
Yeah.
And she's like, I thought he would be here. Were you going to study at this club with the live band? Just
so dumb.
Yeah, I was like really shocked when she was there.
Yeah. So so Willow takes that to heart. Buffy sees Giles there and she's like, yo, what's up with your buddy telling me about the harvest? What's up with this? And then Giles is like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what the harvest is. I also don't know who that person was. So something fucked up's about to happen, I guess. Yeah. And then she's like, what are you even doing here? Isn't it a little creepy for the librarian to be at this high school club?
Yeah.
Good point. Very good point.
I was like really shocked. Yeah.
Yeah. But he's like, I have to be here because this is a hotbed for vampire activity. Can't you sense it? You can tell where vampires are. Are there any vampires in this room? And then Buffy's like, yeah, that guy. And he's like, how do you know? And she's like, look at his shirt.
Yeah. I kind of loved her picking out a vampire based off of fashion. Like,
I loved it too.
If that's going to be her thing the whole time. And
I will respect the show.
And then a montage where the king vampire is like, hey, everyone, we have to get a fashion. Yeah. We have to get someone to give us better clothes so that Buffy can't spot us.
Yeah. So she picks out, I actually think this dude's outfit pretty cool.
It's a little, I don't know about that shirt. But whatever.
He looks like he kind of looks like a character from the movie Swingers, that Vince Vaughn movie.
Yeah.
But her reasoning is like, of course that guy's the vampire. Like that outfit is so outdated. Like, of course that person hasn't seen daylight in 10 years. Like that's definitely a vampire. And as she's saying this, we turn and or the vampire turns and we see that he is talking to Willow, who has taken Buffy's advice to heart. And she's like, you know what? I'm going to go talk to a guy. Just her luck. The guy that she's talking to is a fashionable vampire, man.
Yeah. And like, I know something about Willow from later seasons that I come across, you know, like a little spoilery, but you know, it's whatever. It's actually not even that big of a deal. I guess it was a big of a deal at the time, but the thing that was interesting too with Giles is that he says that he's like, "Oh, you've been having that dream or something." He references the dream that she's had, and he says it in the framing where he's like right over her shoulder, and like it's so. How are all these people obsessed with the new girl, but at the party no one talks to her, no one noticed her, and no one looks up and goes, I really thought this was going to happen. I thought that someone was going to be like, is that Giles with Buffy? And like them standing so close together, like, what's going on? I was like, oh, that'll be a fun like gossip drama in the school. Of, like,
him like whispering sweet nothings in her ear.
Yeah, like I was like, oh, that should be fun to like play with, but they don't even. No one seems to even care that Giles is there. That the librarian, is there. No.
You know, the show's got to happen, I guess.
I mean, it could happen with that. Like,
yeah. So, Buffy goes to chase after Willow, but she somehow loses them in the crowd because Willow's leaving with the vampire dude. Jesse has been hitting on Cordelia this whole time, and she turns him down, and he's like, there's plenty other fish in the sea. And then so we see him talking to a girl, and it turns out it's the girl from the very first scene. Oh my God, Vance, they're so good at tying all of this back together.
Tying it all together. And it ties in that Buffy can't sense vampires, you know? Like she walks right past her. She walks right past her and doesn't notice.
I guess she was a bit more fashionable than the vampire dude.
Yeah.
So, now we know that Jesse's in danger. Mm-hmm. Willow's in danger.
Wait, at this point, when we see the female vampire from the beginning, I did not think that Willow was in danger. I thought Buffy's vampire dar was off. You know, I thought the whole thing was going to be her going there, thinking that Willow has a vampire, and then being like, "Oh, she's not." Oh, and then
she
like
actually just like cock blocking the guy,
or Willow. Why is it the guy getting cock blocked?
Everybody's getting cock blocked by Buffy.
No, I thought she might kill an innocent person too. Oh my God, dude! She chokes up Cordelia. She almost stabbed.
That's true. That is true.
In a weird.
What's your childhood trauma?
I'm gonna whip out my '90s cell phone and call everyone I know. Like,
I know.
What was that?
So great.
But no, I thought like, oh, there's not gonna be two of them there, and Buffy hasn't proved that she has good vampire radar. So like, I figured, oh, she was gonna go and be like, wait, this isn't it. There has to be someone else, and then somehow she crossed paths with the lady and they fight or something. But I didn't think that guy was actually gonna be a vampire.
I thought he was going to be. Just because he looked like a vampire. He had very vampire. Look, I know that I look like a vampire.
Yeah, are you in this show? Have you been in this show? No, you were too young to be in this show.
Yeah, I was 7 years old when
you weren't 42. You weren't 42 trying to play high school.
I used to legitimately get brought up at shows in New York as like, this next guy, he looks like a vampire. Give it up for Joe Welke. So I'm familiar with the vampiric traits and how they look. All right, this guy looked like one of my own.
For people that don't know, you are a stand-up comedian.
Oh yeah. I'm a stand-up comic.
Not just freak shows that they're bringing on the stage for.
Yeah. So any hoozles, Buffy goes to chase after Willow, runs into Xander, and she's like, "Hey, have you seen Willow?" And he's like, "No, but is she being chased by a vampire and you have to slay that vampire because I know that you're a vampire slayer?" And then Buffy's like, what the fuck? How does everyone here already know that I'm a vampire slayer?
Yeah. Which is a great moment. Like, everyone has known everything about her. Like,
yeah.
Which is an interesting... a great way to get information across really quickly. Just dump it out. Just do it. It's fine.
Yeah. So we see Willow's being taken to a cemetery.
So they were leaving this party to go to the ice cream bar.
Yeah.
And she's like, the ice cream bar is this way. He's like, I know a shortcut. And then it pans over and it's the biggest cemetery you've ever seen.
There's no gate around it either.
Nothing.
It's just a park with a bunch of graves in it.
I want to see a map of this town.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. So then they're walking through the cemetery, and the vampire dude is like, you ever seen one of these before? It's like a big mausoleum type thing. And Willow's like, no, and I don't want to. I want ice cream. And then he just throws her in there, and she's like, this isn't funny. And he's like, who said it's supposed to be funny? And then he shows his vampire fangs. And then Darla, who is the other vampire.
Does he show the vampire fangs? I don't think he even
shows
shows
no. He doesn't. He doesn't. He
at this point, it's just...
it's just rapey.
Yeah. Which is even more fun. I would love it if you pulled the vampire fangs out. She's like, oh, great. Thanks. This is a lot better than what I thought.
I thought you were about to rape me. You're just going to fucking suck my blood. I can handle that.
And then shove me in the school's locker for no reason.
Right.
That was the point I wanted to bring up with from the beginning. Like, what? I know that we needed the Buffy and the body to be found so that she could talk to Giles and get the information. But why are these vampires who seem like they're harvesting people putting them in lockers? Like,
it seems like a very
secret?
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. Like, they're very bad at keeping their secret plans secret. Like, they put dead bodies out in public for people to find. Like, what do you think of Darla? That's the name of the lady vampire.
Yeah.
So anyway, Darla shows up, and she's like, oh, this is the best you could get? And the guy's like, she's fresh. And Darla's like, she's
Allison
too
Hannigan's
small.
not that bad.
Yeah.
She's a normal person.
Yeah, and then Darla's like, I mean, she couldn't even feed half of me. Like, this isn't going to be good. And then the vampire guy's like, well, what did you bring? You didn't bring anything. And she's like, oh, I brought something. And we see Jesse stumble in, grabbing his neck, which is bleeding. She's like, sorry, I got a little hungry on the way over here.
That is exactly how she said it. and so, Jesse's like, oh, she gave me a hickey. I'm like, dude, what? Do you know what a hickey is? Like,
Jesse's never had a hickey.
You're bleeding out of your neck.
Jesse's never had a hickey before, obviously. So then he stumbles in and he's next to Willow, and then now is, I think, when they show their vampire fangs.
Yeah, she does that. And it's a weird face morph to the vampire.
I accept it.
Yeah.
I've seen worse things.
I watched a movie recently, City of Lost Children, and they do some face morphing in that. And I think that movie came out around the same time as this. Mm-hmm. And granted, they have movie budgets, but the morphing is amazing for its time. Like, it would hold up today. And this is just like TV, low budget, just kind of a weird dissolve.
Yeah, I dig it. Yeah. I can dig it. I get it.
Yeah.
And who shows up right in time? Buffy and Xander.
How did they find this place? How did they find it? That was because when we last see them, she's like, where would she go? Where would Willow go, who always picks up guys and takes them to one place?
Yeah.
Where would she go? And I guess he's like, I guess the ice cream bar. And then they walk past the ice cream bar and she's like, ooh, cemetery. And then she's like, I know vampires love cemeteries as much as they love schools and locker rooms. Like, what? Like, it makes no sense how they show up.
It doesn't. And that was my one kind of gripe with it. Just being like, how did they know to go to that exact mausoleum in that exact cemetery?
It turned into like an episode of Frasier or something, or Modern Family, where everyone just shows up in the same, everyone just starts walking into the same room at the same time. Like,
so Buffy shows up and she's giving a whole like quirky dialogue-y monologue about like, I thought that this town was gonna be different and I could just be a cool girl, but you fucking vampires, you won't let me be in my social life. And now everybody's going to know that I'm a vampire slayer. And everyone's just kind of looking at her like, what?
They're like, who are you? The vampire's like, who are you?
Yeah.
And I wonder if this is what made Sarah Michelle Gellar, or these like quippy, like Tony Stark-esque, like those lines, you know? Like, I wonder if this is her star turn. Because I didn't love this one. where she's like, oh, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But I'm just wondering if that's going to be her stick throughout the whole thing. I feel like it is. I think it's going to be it.
I feel like it is. This was a lot funnier than I thought it was going to be.
Oh, as an overall show? Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize that this... I mean, maybe I thought that the show was like, you know, teen drama, but I didn't expect it to be like drama comedy. Like, it's pretty funny.
No, I mean, Seth Green shows up at some point in the show, and like...
Yeah, and I did know that too, yeah.
I kind of knew it would have some funny... Like, I mean, it's Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It's not... Yeah. It's not like... because the new shows on CW, like Riverdale and stuff, I feel like are probably darker with... not real, like they're dark and teen drama but no comedy. This is gonna have like that mysticism, vampire lore, like they're gonna fight a werewolf at some point or a zombie. It's gonna get like real dark but cartoony. I mean,
that's definitely hinted at because Giles is like, it's not just vampires, there's werewolves, there's succubi, so we're gonna see some weird shit for sure.
Succubi are gonna be great. It's gonna be fun.
So Buffy destroys the guy vampires like real quick with her wooden stake. She just like, he like starts to sneak up from her behind. She just stabs him and he's like, oh. And then he fucking just evaporates.
Yeah. So you're saying Buffy has a sense, so she can sense people coming up from behind her?
Maybe she has a spidey sense.
Well, she doesn't later.
Yo, she certainly doesn't.
Yeah, she tells the three, because Xander's just standing there watching this like he has nothing to do. Absolutely nothing to do. So he's standing there, and then Buffy goes on a rant. She's like, get him out of there, run as far as you can, or whatever. So the three of them leave, and she's having this fight with the female vampire, and they're punching and kicking and throwing each other. And she's
very bad fight choreography.
Yeah, really not good. I mean, Sarah Michelle Gellar's not. I'm going to be amazed by the stunt person, because every time she gets thrown, that stunt person is taking some falls. So that's kind of fun. But she gets the upper hand over that vampire, and then she's about to kill her, it seems like, but she's monologuing like she's a villain. I just wanted a normal school life, and you're ruining my place, whatever. And then she just gets grabbed by the back of the neck from, which we haven't really talked about, which is this number 2 in charge super vampire.
Yeah, I think his name is Thomas.
Yeah, and I've seen that actor in some stuff too. But yeah,
wait, no, I think his name is Luke. Yeah, it's Luke. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah. So he grabs her by the back of the neck, and I guess then he tosses her again, because that's what you do when you're a bad guy. You just start throwing people around. And then he tells the other girl to leave. Darla, is it?
Yeah.
He tells Darla to leave, and she goes and she just runs out. I forget why he's mad at her for something, for not bringing people back or something. Because this is the thing we have to bring up is, there's a super vampire that they've just brought back to life, and he's hungry and weak, and this is the harvest to bring him people to eat. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, and then after Xander, Jesse, and Willow leave, they're then accosted and surrounded by looks like 7 to 10 vampires that are in the cemetery.
Yeah. I would say like 4. Seems like
4.
I think it's like 4 or 5. Because
it's definitely more.
I don't know. It's whatever. Who cares? I don't care how many vampires.
Yeah. I mean, so they're dead, obviously.
I was like, this is a short show.
Yeah, right? So then Luke, the number 2 vampire guy, he starts beating the shit out of Buffy and throws her into a coffin. And she's like, is he gone?
This moment lingers where she's in the coffin and she's next to a skeleton. And I'm like, is she thinking about using a skeleton as a sharp weapon to stab or something? Like, because she's just in there, not moving. She's like, oh, I guess vampires just throw you into things and leave. Like, like she doesn't try to get up. She's not trying to do anything.
Not very sound logic.
No. And then he comes on top of her and he's saying something or other.
Yeah.
And
he jumps on top of the coffin and then he jumps into the coffin with her, and then we get our fucking big cliffhanger, Vance. To be continued. Are you shitting me?
Like, I'm curious, like, you're on Wikipedia. Did this air the first 2 episodes the same night?
It literally did. I was going to say that the next time we did the podcast, but it is, both the first and second episode aired on March 10th in 1997.
Because I've watched a lot of sitcoms and stuff where they would do that cliffhanger to be continued stuff. You never do it on the first episode.
Yeah.
Like, that is because people hate that. Like, back when TV was like just on TV and it wasn't streaming, like, people hated the to be continued. Like, and I was like, they did this in the first episode. I'm like, oh, it makes sense if it was, it's a 2-hour premiere.
Yeah.
And I guess, like, we used to do predictions on the last podcast.
Before we do predictions, I need to ask you something. If you know, and I'm sure, like, if someone listening right now does know the answer to this, they're going to be so furious. But is this based on something before? Like, is there a Buffy the Vampire Slayer comic book that this is based off of? Or is this like an original first TV show thing? Were there like teen books that were like Goosebumps?
I don't think it's based off of a book.
Did they just like see the movie and they were just kind of like, we can make a series out of this, but with completely different people?
Yeah, I didn't see anything in the credits that were like based off of, or like any other writing or any other IP, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I could be wrong.
All right. Well, if you know the answer to this, write in.
Yeah.
We don't have
message. You can just message us or email us or whatever. You'll see it in the show notes.
Yeah.
The thing I wanted to say prediction wise, I was like, okay, this seems like a daunting. It's no way they can get out of this, right? And I was like, I know exactly how they're getting out of this.
Yeah, I do too.
Okay.
I want to hear what your prediction for how they're getting out of it.
I think she's going to use the cross that she got from Angel with this guy that's on top of her. Because there was something. He's talking about hell a lot. He's like, hell is going to come and all the vampires are going to walk on the earth and hell. And I'm like, oh, she's going to say some quippy line and hit him with the cross. And I think Angel's going to show up and fight the other vampires and reveal that he's a vampire, but a good one, and save the kids. Okay. That's my prediction.
I was waiting for her to pull out the cross as well. Like, I was like, what? Maybe you should have shown that to Giles to be like, hey, would you know what this thing is? Because it looked like...
Do you know what religion is?
It looked like it was like... And it's funny because this is the same thing with Sarah Michelle Gellar in Cruel Intentions. She had a cross that had a bunch of cocaine in it. This looked like the same kind of like cross that had some kind of secret compartment in it.
Yes, it does look not one solid piece.
Yeah. So maybe there's it's like a silver stake or something, or some kind of thing to combat vampires for sure.
Well, I mean,
holy water maybe.
I mean, crosses are enough to combat vampires if this is traditional vampire lore, because it changes.
Yeah.
I don't know if you watch What We Do in the Shadows, which is great, and they have like different stuff, but yeah.
My prediction was I thought they were going to kill the master, who is the the head vampire evil guy that they're preparing the harvest for.
Wait, you mean like this episode? I'm just predicting like the end of the episode.
No, I'm predicting the end of the next episode.
Oh, I was predicting just like the pickup from this one. Yeah, I didn't. Yeah,
I like your Angel prediction.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go with that, but I think he's gonna have a hard time warding off all of those vampires. Meanwhile, Buffy is gonna kill the head vampire guy, and then all the other vampires are gonna disappear too.
Oh, you think it's one? No, I don't think. Yeah, my thought about that is that this season is probably like 20 episodes long, and it's
12.
12. Okay, they're definitely not getting rid of this guy so quick. He might run off. I think he'll get like burned by the cross and run off, but I don't think. I don't know if they're all connected either to this. Like, because that's one of those cheap things that they kind of do in movies where like. Even Avengers did it, you know. I kill the one thing, and then all of the ships blow up, and it's like, why is
I'm sorry,
connected?
Avengers, which was Joss Whedon.
Yeah.
That's why I think.
I mean, it happens
like
in
that.
a ton of stuff. Yeah.
That's why I'm saying it.
You think we're gonna have whole new vampires in episode 3?
Possibly. I mean, there's a Hellmouth, Vance.
but the main vampire's starving. He's going to die down there without his vampires to feed him.
Well, who are they going to kill?
I think people are going to get away.
You think Jesse's going to die?
Oh, next episode?
He got bit by the vampire.
Yeah, but she said they normally kill you and it doesn't turn you unless you drink. They explain like you don't get turned unless you drink.
She did explain that.
Like, it's a whole thing, Giles.
Yeah, they'll suck all of your blood, which will kill you. Or they suck your blood, you suck their blood. It's a whole suck fest.
Yeah.
And that's how you become a vampire.
Which at some point we're going to see.
Absolutely we are.
Yeah.
Absolutely we are.
Yeah.
So do you think Jesse's just kind of like, that was weird?
He's like, hey, how'd you do at the club yesterday? I know we're back in school. It's Tuesday.
Hooked up with Darla. You mean the fucking evil vampire that Buffy stabbed in the heart?
Yeah, I was kind of losing a lot of blood. The blood was in a different part of my body, if you know what I mean. So I didn't realize that.
Oh my god. Yeah. Oh Jesus. All right. Well, that's the episode. Do we have anything else that we should talk about?
No, normally you give us the title of the next episode.
Well, the next episode, which is, I guess, a two-parter, the next episode, which is why I kind of think it's going to be the end of that head vampire guy. Next episode is titled The Harvest.
Oh, wow. So we're jumping right into it, huh?
Yeah, I think that guy is as good as gone in the next episode.
They bring Buffy down and she just fights them down there? That's what you're thinking?
Yeah, I think so. I think that like maybe the guy that's on top of her like punches the ground falls, and then she falls into the vampire lair. And then she's confronted by the master.
That would make so much sense as to why the hell he brought her to that mausoleum of all places.
That's what I'm thinking is like, I think it's Nightmare Before Christmas logic, where like all graves lead to Halloween Town. Like there's a part where Jack Skellington, he's like in Christmas Town and he opens like a mausoleum door and it just takes him to Halloween Town. I think that this grave is going to lead to the vampire lair.
Okay. Yeah. All right. We'll see. To be continued.
We shall see. So thank you for listening, everybody. Please subscribe. Please rate us on Apple Podcasts and everything. And stay tuned for our next episode when we talk about The Harvest.
Seltzer Kings
Podcasts.